The phone's shaking. Sorry, I was answering a text. I have no idea what my bicep size is. I don't care about that stuff. Best deadlift is 672 or 305 kilograms. Right. So 50 is a little bit more than last time. We're gonna do it again. I think last time, actually, you can look at my notebook. I think last time I did 45. No, last time I did 50. I don't know. Felt a little heavy. Well, not very strong, so makes sense. All right. Looks like that. That would feel a bit better. It's a weird thing to say. It never fails. Lifts weights. Must speak at the politics. But do a third set. I forgot to record on my other camera. My main camera. Kind of want to do another set. TBH. It's nice how much better these are feeling as the more frequently I do them. What's up, Reed? I'm here getting lit on a Saturday night. After doing that 225, I did the 290 for a double the next day. My deadlift strength is hilarious. I kind of want to try 60. That's what I'm going to do. I wanted to do, so on these days of snatch gear pressing, just 3, now I've dropped the sets of 5 to 3, still 3 total sets, but I'm feeling actually really easy, which is nice. Any shoulder exercise, feeling good is good. But that was my third set, so I kind of want to try 60. I think my best, it's one of those weird movements, I don't really remember my best, like, just regular snatch grip press, but I feel like I've done 80 before, but I don't think it was very easy if I did. And it might have been kind of cheaty. A little bit trap action to get it moving a little bit, but we'll do 60 here and see how that moves. And then some overhead press. I tried a clean jerk 160 yesterday. They had 150 for 2 singles. And then tried 160, which I cleaned it but didn't do the jerk. But shows me that all the back squat volume's working. So that is good. Alright. set of 3. Still feels pretty easy. Take it. Actually, I have no idea why those are feeling better today. What's funny is I think the regular river press will still feel. It's not too cold. I don't know what the temperature is now. Tomorrow the low is 33 and the high is 62. So I'm gonna guess it's probably in the 50s right now. Do I need help? Help from what? But it's not too bad. It's nice, like, I don't say this is the perfect temperature, but it's nice when it's kind of cold like this. I can bundle up, but then once I get moving, then, whatchamacallit, then I get warmed up where I don't need to, have this stuff on, but it's not cold enough to the point where I could lift normally out here if I was doing, like, snatches of clean and jerks, not just pressing, but, people are just weird. But Michael, I don't care about the World Series. I'm a Cleveland fan, so I don't care about the World Series or baseball anymore. That's my feeling of once the Cleveland teams are done playing, then I don't particularly care who wins. So I don't really have a dog in the race. I don't care about LA or the Yankees. Like I don't. Whoever wins, I don't really. It doesn't really matter to me. I didn't really think the Guardians were gonna be good this year. So. Hello from. Why do you have a? You're doing a 4-leaf clover from Germany. That don't make any sense. All right, we're gonna do some more red press. Oh. See, when do you set to 8 again? Pretty easy to. It's a complicated question. Am I disappointed the terrible quarterback for the Browns with all of the allegations against him can no longer play? Not disappointed at all. I would have rather him just be benched, but couldn't have happened to a nicer gentleman. I think a lot of Cleveland fans are, when you have if you have an old dog and they're having a lot of health issues and you start to see them sick, at least I guess the dog's not a good comparison because you at least like the dog at one point. I was not a fan of the trade from the initial point because my viewpoint when the trade happened and all of it was going to be the worst trade of all time, and I'm pretty happy that I thought that pretty soon after the trade. But the only thing that could have made it a good trade is a Super Bowl. He's obviously not going to win a Super Bowl with the Browns at this point, so it is the worst trade of all time. It was the only thing. If you win a Super Bowl, there's not really a price you can put on it, but the likelihood of that happening was already extremely low. even if he was playing at the level that he was playing with the Texans. And the likelihood of that happening was so low, and the fact that we traded, gave up all this money for even one person. And that's not even taking account for all of the baggage that he came with. And um, weird thing. And because of that, so because of the amount of picks and money you gave up, the likelihood of that working out was already super low with any quarterback of all time. It's already a hard thing to win. And with him being injured, I think now is the kind of interesting part or interesting aspect of the season. So I think most people were realizing that he was going to get benched at some point. Whether, I mean, this his injury was an obvious one. My thought was that he was going to get injured, but it was going to be oh yeah, he's really hurt, but it was so they could just bench him without looking bad. Now they have the excuse to bench him, and I think right now, from this season, he was only still on the field because of the owner. I don't think the coach is that dumb to keep putting him on the field and expect a different result. They haven't got more than 20 points this year, and it's not something that was going to change with him on the field probably for a while. And I think there's just a lot of relief. No, nobody wanted him playing. And people with the team, we see Baker having success now. And my mindset with the Browns trying to get a better quarterback is that they went about it in the most Cleveland Browns way possible, just like an idiot and just ruining their any momentum they had as a team building it. But the Chiefs, back when they had Alex Smith, really approached the situation the best way. They had an Alex Smith, which I would say is pretty close to how Baker was, like a pretty average to above average quarterback. He wasn't going to win you a ton of games. He wasn't going to lose you a ton of games. But at his best, he was serviceable or could be good. But he just didn't have that extra step. And that's how I view Baker. Like, Baker is playing well now, but he's not like a Super Bowl type guy. He's not winning you know, 15 games in a season. He's not winning multiple Super Bowls, but he's not bad enough to where you can still play winning football with him. And with the Chiefs, Alex Smith was very similar in that regard. They spent, a first round pick getting the future quarterback and let him develop for a year or whatever behind Alex Smith. And now we see Patrick Mahomes. And I think the Browns, if they didn't like Baker Mayfield, there wasn't like if you could have got Deshaun Watson in the situation, like if the Texans just released him and you got him from like a minimum contract like Russell Wilson, you could have justified getting him if the price was that cheap. But even if he was everything and some, you can't justify giving up that much for a single player, even if it is quarterback. But the Browns wanted to move on from Baker. You still give him the contract because he's the best quarterback you have on the team, even if it's a 2-year extension or whatever. But then you just draft quarterbacks, and there's there's this taboo with like drafting a quarterback like the Packers did that is going to replace a starter, and it's it's annoying because that's the simplest way to develop one and the safest way because you can draft someone if they sucks, then you just try again the next year, and then you have two quarterbacks on the roster, and you have a backup, and then you have the average starter, and you just keep trying to do that every year, and unfortunately this year, the season's basically lost, being 1-6, and I mean, unfortunately, Jameis is an upgrade. You don't ever want to say that about your backup quarterback being an upgrade to your starter, but he's going to be a pretty tremendous upgrade. I'm curious with how they'll look with him, and I think it'll be the final indictment, even though he's had 28 or whatever indictments at this point or cases, but this will be the final nail in the coffin for Watson, which his career is already going to be done. It's his right leg. He already has a bum shoulder, and he's not going to come back from that. And I don't think the Browns want him to come back from that because of the insurance purposes of him being out with that. But if Jameis looks good and serviceable, then it'll be the final indictment on him that Watson was the problem and not the coaching staff. If Winston comes in, they look just as bad or even worse, then the coaches could be gone. But if they come in and play 500 football and Winston is throwing a couple touchdowns that picks a game, it'll show that the team could play. It was just the quarterback that was holding them back, which is obvious to anyone. probably even the coaches on the team. It's hard to it'd be hard to believe that they wouldn't know that Watson was washed when you see his throws and his bum shoulder. And now, I mean, he's gonna be out till midway through next year. So, um, yeah, it says a lot, and that to me was like, okay, it's not the team if Flacco, and it wasn't even just like all the quarterbacks we had, just a bunch of random people in. We have five different quarterbacks and had success. So I mean, it isn't just a quarterback play, or I mean, it is just a quarterback play. We have the system to have good quarterbacks have the opportunity to play well, even if they're not good, and yeah, it's just yeah the guaranteed contract, and it's all from the owner, and that's I think we'll know how much it was the owner's decision to give the contract and do the trade when the season's over. If Andrew Barry, the general manager, and Stefanski, the coach, both come back next year, it'll kind of be the biggest indicator that it was actually the owner that was forcing that to happen and forcing him to play. But if either one of them or both of them are fired, then we'll know that they're actual the Stefanski and Barry are both buffoons and wanted him on the team. I feel like they both probably initially wanted him on the team, but then once the price point was going to be announced for him to actually stay in Cleveland, neither one of them probably wanted them. It was too much of a price for that big contract that he ended up signing, and that the owner was like, "No, we're going all in in getting this garbage guy and not having anyone else." And it's sad in a sense because all the golden years of like Miles and Nick Chubb and all of that are just gonna be wasted. I mean, our team's probably set back for 3 or 4 years at a minimum, and I mean the only hope is if we suck the whole year and get a high draft pick and we happen to hit on a quarterback, and that guy being the CJ Stroud or someone that can be good on a cheap contract. But the Browns aren't good at drafting quarterbacks. The luck is never on our side with that. So we're kind of just back into the sad state. And at least when I was growing up, when the Browns were bad, like they were still a likable team. And the fortunate thing with Watson's injury is now they can start to rebuild their reputation as being a franchise that's likable. Even if they're bad, people won't be actively rooting against them. And honestly, for the last couple weeks, I was rooting against the Browns because I just wanted them. I wanted Watson out, so I knew if they kept losing, eventually something was going to have to change, or at least throughout there being just more evidence to get rid of him. So I was hoping the Browns would keep losing, and now, unfortunately, I hope they do keep losing so they get a better draft pick. Like, I don't want them to start being successful, not with Jameis Winston. Um, but if they ended up, going on a crazy run, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. But their schedule's pretty rough right now, and yeah, the Flacco thing, it was magical. It was a fun year. And that was the sad thing is like you could have just ran it back with Flacco and just said Watson is just not healthy yet because he clearly is not. I mean, maybe he sucks, maybe he's not healthy. Who knows what the issue was? But I think the shoulder injury was much more severe than what a lot of us were led to believe. And I think that he kind of has that Peyton Manning and that Drew Brees type shoulders thing now, where he has a bum shoulder, and now clearly he's never going to be athletic again, as he was with after that Achilles. And it's his plant leg, his pushing leg. He's toast. Like I'd be I'd be shocked if he ever played another snap of NFL football again. Like he'll still be on the roster next year, so maybe he'll see time if as a backup. But I can't imagine them putting him out on the field because I mean, he's not good and is not going to be healthy for 12 months, which is good for the Browns. We can fully tank again and start the process back over. But I think kind of think we're just gonna suck until we get a new owner. So we got another 20 years of this misery. I want to be a Detroit fan. I don't want to be a Browns fan anymore. That's how bad it is. Okay. rested a while, so I actually didn't feel too bad. Who do you like, Reed? Because my secondary team, at least I think it's fair game. Packers, I respect that. My teaching mentor, she's a big Packers fan because she's originally from Wisconsin. I told her, I said, jokingly, said Minnesota's looking. It was in the midst of Watson looking how he was. I said Minnesota's looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna be a Vikings fan, and she's like, I'll never talk to you again. I think she could respect if I became a Detroit fan, but Minnesota's gonna fall off. Minnesota's gonna be. I think if you, I don't know if you watched a completely random video I decided to do the power rankings, but I kind of don't believe in Minnesota, and I don't believe in Sam Darnold. I think the Packers are. I think I put the Packers at 5, which is pretty high, but I believe in Jordan Love. He looks special, and I'm very jealous because our quarterbacks are not special. Um, not, not special at all. And so when you see like the throws he makes, you're like that's a guy. And people like say like, oh, he's like Brett Favre with his picks. Like he just looks like a clone of Aaron Rodgers with his mobility and his throws. But I think he does, and I think he'll get better at that. But like the ceiling of the Packers with the way that their team looks now, I think if he's not throwing dumb plays, which he's not really forced into him, he just randomly throws terrible passes, and it's just like he makes a weird decision sometimes. But I think that their potential, or at least like their skill, when they're playing well and clean football, is just one of the best. I don't know a lot of teams that are going to beat them if Love is playing clean football. And you guys have a lot of good receivers too. So I think, I mean, even the Bears are decent this year. I think the Bears are another team like the Vikings that they'll lose some games. I mean, the Vikings more so because it's Sam Darnold, and I think they'll keep losing kind of how they just did. And even though they look pretty good, I just think that the ceiling with Sam Darnold is probably 9 or 10 wins, and the Bears, just hard to trust a rookie quarterback, even though Williams has looked better. I think they've beat a couple bad teams, and that's kind of made them look like an actual decent team. But I think Williams is going to keep your guys' hands full for the years, but I think Minnesota is just going to kind of go back to being average once Sam Darnold cools off a little bit. Maybe they're really that good. It's hard to really tell, but the Lions, I think, are. I would be surprised if the Lions didn't just get to the Super Bowl. Goff is on a heater right now. And he's not even just playing clean. He's almost playing perfect football, and it's almost bizarre how like perfect his football games are. And I like the the David Montgomery. I never knew him as a person, of course. He's too old for that. But he went to his high school, or just the schools that he went to was where I taught. So it's kind of neat to see him in the NFL. A local, I guess, local to the school I was at. There's a guy in the Chiefs as well that went to the high school as well. But yeah, I like the Lions. They're like my number 2 team. I think geographically it's the most logical, I guess, besides the Colts. But the Colts are a weird team. Colts are a very streaky, potentially like dominant to a team that gets blown out. I feel like they're a team that could beat you 40-0 or lose 0-40 in the same week. But the Packers are good. The Packers are legit. They got a kicker now too. Even though he sounds like he might be kind of like another Watson guy, but at least it's your kicker, not your whole franchise. You didn't give him $230 million, so if he doesn't work out, you got to get rid of him. It's just your kicker. It's not your whole franchise. It's a very smart move by the Packers. Not being the Browns, can't do that. But yeah, it's unfortunate for the Browns. We are absolutely cooked for like the next 5 to 6 years. It's absolutely fantastic. I was having fun watching football the last 3 years. Now it's just not fun to see the Browns. But now I can kind of I don't mind if they win. Like I'm excited to watch Jameis play because it's like at least if he plays well, I can be happy. It's like if Deshaun played well, it was just like you knew he was cooked anyway. So it was just staving off the inevitable. But it's that's true. I mean, a little bit different, but it's also, you know, push comes to shove, it's your kicker. So like, if something came out really bad, like you just get rid of your kicker. Nobody's like, we have to keep him on our team. We give him guaranteed money. It's like, no, it's our kicker. He can leave. With Watson, it's like all of that, plus even a new one when he was on the Browns. They're like, we have to keep him. He's our best chance to win. Like, he's cooked. But yeah, it's like the honestly, I think if the Packers could figure out their kicking, then I think that honestly probably the biggest thing holding them back has been their kicking, which is a weird. It's a funny problem to have when you have all the other pieces and you just can't find someone to kick field goals. But I think that McNannis will be good enough, and that's all you need. Someone to make but inside of 50 and extra points. There. Pressing felt easy today, though. Felt easy. I mean, it's not bad. I like training every day. So, even if it's not optimal, I still would, and that's kind of the mindset I have. But I think the approach she has, you can make it work even if you want to train more frequently. It's basically have a hard session, have a light session, hard, light, light, or whatever. It's basically just don't go super heavy every day. And it's hard when it's fun to lift. And I think the way that she can get away with that is, yeah, and like just have light stuff, muscle snatches and pressing. But I think the way that she's able to get away with that is she's a really gifted athlete because for most people, even you know, people who start young, like a Hampton Morris or all those guys, like training weightlifting frequently is less about the actual stimulus and more about the practice of the movements and the technical development. And that's really hard to do. And she's obviously really good with the technique. And I think that's a lot with her genetics and her ability to learn movements and to keep them in her head because she's incredibly consistent in competitions as well. I think it's less to do with her training and more that's a genetic component that most people don't have. I mean, even like elite weightlifters, she's better than a lot of them. So like, she's unique in that regard as well. But strength. I mean, you can strength train 3 times a week and get really strong. To me, like that's the least surprising part because I had heard about how infrequently she trained before. So training 3 times a week for strength is not it's not a radical thing. And it makes sense that she and that's where the other genetic thing is like she's good at strength training, so she responds well to any form of training, and it makes you a little suspicious with how good she is relative to even people in the whole world. But when you live for America, thankfully you get the benefit of the doubt because you usually can not pass the you usually can't get around the drug test unless you're West Kits and you take a banned supplement a month for the Olympics and they just shove it under the rug because you're already qualified for the Olympics and it would make America look bad if one of their couple of athletes that were allowed to go was an idiot and took a banned supplement. Even though I'm sure a lot of them, I'm sure Wes back in his football days was using some extra supplements to try to make the NFL, as a lot of people would if you're on your kind of your last leg of trying to give you an undrafted free agent or something. Probably why David Spitz was able to find him such incredible strength with his power cleans and stuff. But that's a conspiracy for another day. But that would be the funniest thing though, is if Olivia just got popped randomly. I honestly think that would be the funniest thing. Because it'd be like, all right, we have one super talented weight athlete, and it's because of steroids. But no, I mean, even if even if she was on everything in the world, the fact that she only trains a couple times a week and is able to progress from a technical standpoint is really impressive. So I think that part is just freaky in that aspect. But getting strong 3 days a week, I think is definitely manageable and possible. But she clearly responds almost too well to training. But somebody has to, right? Somebody has to be a genetic freak, I suppose. And she's someone, and every once in a while you're going to get someone in weightlifting that would be a genetic freak in any sport that they chose. The LeBron James of whatever, weightlifting or whatever. And she might just be that. I certainly find it funny how good she is and makes Maddie Rogers and Kate Vibert just the most irrelevant lifters at this point. Yeah. Besides deadlift, like her squat would, she obviously probably doesn't bench very much weight. But yeah, as far as squats go, she would be up there for sure. I think she was talking about how she never really does pulls, which is hilarious. I think pulls are super underrated for weightlifters. Even though I take it to the extreme, I think just doing pulls is just such. It's like it's just free practice with the pull, of course, but also just free strength work. I don't know. It's to me when people don't like you only like Hampton Morris hits like a deadlift PR and it's only like 200 kilos or whatever it was, and it's just like that's just such free gains to just add 20-30 kilos or whatever on your deadlift. And it's not a one-to-one correlation, but it does make you tougher to more able to handle the lifts in other regards. Makes your body tougher. Maybe I'm just coping so I can deadlift heavy. uh, but yeah, and it's weird with like female sports because like you see like a good weightlifter guy, you're like, oh, they'd be good at track or American football, and you see like a good female lifter, and you're like, I guess they'd be good at gymnastics or like a lot of them are too tall for it, and I don't know. It's hard. I guess track and field would be the other thing that they could be decent at, but yeah, Olivia Reeves is freaky strong. Freaky strong and freaky consistent in her lifts and competition. You got to be freaky when you're out lifting all the Chinese people that they run through all their labs. They pre-select and drug up from their teenage years, and she's beating them. Probably not as much as they would like to with all the improvements to not being able to pay to play as much as you were before, but who knows? I mean, obviously Carlos Nassar is obviously getting to take whatever he wants for free, so that'd be some fun knowledge to have, is to not really what the drugs they are taking, but really the methods from how they're getting around drug tests. Like you look at the Carlos Nassars or the Li Wan, the Chinese guy, and like you see these even Lasha. It's like you see these guys and you're like, how are they still getting away with drug tests? Because it's like they're clearly still taking all of the stuff that they were before, and some of them like Carlos are getting stronger every competition somehow, and somehow haven't been popped, which tells me that they're obviously not being drug tested very frequently or very effectively. So there's something going on with that, and you kind of hope that it's just we're not out of competition drug testing, and they are just showing up to competitions and having to cycle off when they show up. But the conspiracy part of me says that they're still just paying bribes like they were before. There's too many systems in place to make that easy, and it's expensive. You have to pay money to do drug tests, so they're probably just not spending as much on drug tests. It makes lifting better because you see heavier weights, and you don't have to worry. If you're not drug testing, nobody gets popped for the drugs. You get to see better lifting. You save money from not doing the drug test, and the lifters are more happy. The actual product is better. So like, there's too many incentives to just let them do whatever they want. But it'd be interesting to know like who's allowed to and who's not. Like you have Carlos and Lasha who are clearly just given a green light to just blast away. But then you have random people like the Kazakhstan teens that are all getting pops. I'm like, why are those kids getting popped for everything and other countries aren't? Like I'm curious like how the bribery really works. Clearly there's something. And I don't know, maybe Kazakhstan was like, I support Russia in the war or something, and they're like, all your guys got popped now because of politics. But I don't know. That to me is a more interesting thing. Like almost less so than the actual like competition list. I'm like, why is Lasha allowed to snatch 220? Like, why is that? Why is he not getting popped immediately? Like, how do you? How is he not melting steel beams with his drug test? But it just I don't know. They're just not doing something, or they are like before. They drug test everyone and then just throw out the drug test or use it to get bribes. But I don't know. That to me is that to me will be interesting to know. Maybe we'll eventually know once the weightlifting's kicked out of the Olympics how much they were doing to get all of the corruption through. But I don't know. One day we'll know. Maybe once Lasha retires, we'll talk about it. Probably not. Traps are stored. Yeah. Also, like the one Uzbek lifter, the super heavyweight, I forget his name, but he was popped for like 8 years, and then came back, lifted once, and then got popped again, and it's, it's quite hilarious. Uh, you have a fun one. You have a fun one, buddy. I'm gonna fight myself to do some front squats. 70 kilos. We'll go up to 120 now. Yeah, I have a lot of questions too. All right, 120 now. We'll do 150 now. We'll cheat and use a belt. Like a man. Alright. Time to get it. Oh, a little heavy, but not too bad. Definitely got room to increase. So we'll redo the wraps a little bit. And then probably do 175. I'm doing pretty good, buddy. Just did 155 in the front squat. I'm gonna try 175 for a single or double. At least a single. If it feels like I can, I might try to double it, but I'm not worried if I can't. Doing it for a single would be good enough. Right. Good enough. Just fixing my knee wraps a little bit. They're actually not too tight, which is interesting. Usually by now they're cutting off my circulation, but I think having the layer of sweatpants is holding them in place better. They're not sliding behind my knee and getting all bunched up, which is good to remember for these days. But we'll try 175, see if we do it for 2. Get at least 1. All right. It's like 9 o'clock or something. What time is it? It is 9:13. 'Tis late, but it's Saturday, so we can lift when it's late. All right. Let's go ahead and make a good single, maybe a double. Yeah, 2 would have been way too much. But the single felt pretty good. Especially how much work I did yesterday, training wise. So that's good. Whew. 6:43. Oh, I would say that's pretty good. In the back of my mind, I was like, I could try 2, but it wouldn't have moved anyway. So that's aight. That's aight for tonight. For that. But, well, I mean, it's a front squat, so you wouldn't get a spotter for it anyway. If you fail front squats, if you can't get out, then I don't know what to tell you. Already some pulls now. Man, I always like, I'm gonna do a warm-up set with 100 and then I just go right to my working sets. I'm a knucklehead. I'm a certified goofball. I'm gonna go right to 130. But, yeah, Tony, sucks for you. You got a home gym. It never closes. But, that's why even if my gym that I go to is 24 hours, so, I don't have to worry about that. I could go in right now if I wanted, but I just don't want to drive there. Need a boot to that. There's the rack. There's the 3x3 at this. Oh, a little spider. You gotta hide, buddy. Go away. You look like you're trying to escape. Go that way. I want the spiders to be in here because I want them to eat all the bugs, but if you're on the platform, usually catches the hand. That little guy's moving slow though, so I gave him some help to get back there. If he's smart, he'll hide himself. If not, he'll catch these hands. All right. Didn't feel too bad. We're just going to do clusters with these. Get them done. One more set. A little scooter didn't come back. All right. Not too bad. Starting with a walk's probably a good idea then. Start with some kind of exercise. Thanks. Yeah, they're 3x3, but I did them with short rest in between, so it's called clusters when you do that. Good way to get the heart rate up so you don't fully recover. But we're done now. That's all she wrote. Felt my left knee a little bit on that last triple. Yeah. It's a tricky thing because even if I didn't do this kind of lifting, I just enjoy exercise, so I would just do it every day anyway. So for me, it's not a difficult habit. I played sports my whole life, but even when I play sports, I like doing them every day, so I just would. That's how you get better, but like I enjoy movement. Probably a good reason I became a phys ed teacher. So I like moving. I like to move it. But write down my stuff for tomorrow when I'm still here. Tomorrow is a snatch and clean jerk and back squat volume day. So I set the conservative goal of at least doing 90 with the assumption that I can get to there even if I feel bad, but if I do, that I shouldn't go above that point. So we just plan to do 90. And then clean and jerks, I plan to get to 125 in the same theory that even if I feel bad, I can do that weight. But ideally, yeah, It's the luxury I have. But with the 125, like I can almost for sure get to both of those weights. And the last time I did 125 for a 4x8, so do 70, 120, and then we'll actually jump to 155 because I'm going to do my 3 or 4x8 at 175. So we'll see how that works. Because my focus right now is basically just squatting a lot. And the weightlifting stuff goes well, it's great. But if I have a day where something feels off, shoulder feels weird, it's not progressing or whatever, then we just slow that down. Because we still hammer the back squat. In a sense, so like right now, I kind of set not so much like a weekly goal. It's kind of like each progression's goal. So it could be, week long or whatever. But like the 4x8s, I'm trying to increase those throughout the week. And with the sets of 10, I did 3 days of 3x10 last week, and then I ended with a top set of 10. In theory, I'd like to do that again this week, but even if it like doesn't work out, like if I try to do 4 sets of 8 tomorrow at 175 and it doesn't feel good and I can't get it all, like I'm still focused on just getting volume in the squat. So I'm not necessarily worried about certain numbers. The general goal right now is just to try to build my squat and just get a lot of volume in with it. And so if I can build consistency with the progress of the back squat, it's good. But obviously, for all the lifts, you want them to progress up. So if I have a snatch session like I did yesterday, where I got up to 110 I missed it once and then I did it for 3 singles. The next time I do it, if I'm feeling good, I'd like to get up to 115. And then for clean jerks, I did 150 for 2 singles and then missed 160. So I would like to be able to get up to 155 for a single. And then the next time I do that session, to do the word that's just not right. But whatchamacallit, so like it's a linear progression. That's always the goal, but it's not so much like each week. But each week I have the progression of what I want to do. So in a session like today, if I flip back, like I wanted to do snatch, grip, press, overhead press, front squat, and snatch pulls. So like my goal is like to do all of the sessions in a week while trying to like, get stronger, of course, but also like to maintain health in general. So I'm not like getting hurt or like feeling run down. So like it's not so much thinking, it's more of just consistently doing the training. That's more of the important thing, and not trying to go off the rails. If you are having a progression, in my case, trying to build the volume of the squats up. But if if tomorrow, if the 4x8 goes well, then probably Tuesday I'll try to do something above 185 for a set of 8, and then the next week drop the volume down a little bit. But it's like, so I suppose my goal right now is to just keep moving the back squats up, and then everything else I do is a bonus. But thankfully, it's possible to push other things. But if like tomorrow I get to 90 in the snatch and I just like I don't want to do any more, it's not going to ruin what I want to do in a week. It's just like if I feel good, if nothing feels off, if the technique feels down, I can push it up heavier. But the main crux is like when I go to the actual physical gym tomorrow, it's like I want to do that 4x8 at 175, and then everything else is, a bonus. But like I still want to do well in those other lifts, but I give myself those out because I think that's important when you have a training session, to not have extreme goals in multiple exercises, because you could have a day where you don't snatch well and then you clean jerk well, or a day where you don't, vice versa, or like you don't do the classics well, but then the strength work goes well, or the strength work, it's like it all varies day to day. But as long as you have a logical progression and I did this before, I could probably get close to doing this, and a lot of it's guesswork because like I did a 4x8 at 155 and I'm jumping to 175, so I'm jumping 20 kilos. So like I could just be wrong. Like, I could just be physically unable to do a set of 8, even though I did a set of 10 at 185 the other week. It could just be me not loading correctly. But if you're assuming and it's pretty safe to assume if you're consistently training that you're getting stronger. Probably, you probably could do closer to that than not. And so as long as like recovery wise, I don't feel bad. There's nothing that hurts. There's no reason not to try it. Then I'll get to that. And maybe I do the first set and I only do 4. Well, I still did 175 for 4. Then I can set that goal for the next time I do that session to do that 175 for that volume. But the back squats too. That's kind of the other thing on the volume days. So in the first week, doing 3x10s, so getting 30 total repetitions, and then trying to push that 3x10 up. So still doing 30 repetitions, but trying to increase the intensity. And then on the last like peaked set of 10, just trying to set a PR just because I thought I physically could, which I was correct, thankfully. But with these 4x8s, I'm doing 32 total reps. So it's not so much that I want to increase the amount of total reps I'm doing as far as the working sets go in a session. Just happens to be the math looks prettier to go 3x10 to a 4x8. The to do instead of doing 3x8 and then a set of 2 seems kind of goofy when I can do a set of 8. So the next week, once I do this session and the top set of 8, I might just do 6 sets of 6, or I might do 5 sets of 6. Like it kind of depends on how the vibe is when I'm doing those sessions. But the goal is to keep moving the back squats up as far as the intensity as the volume each week drops a little bit, or I should not even so much the volume, the rep of the sets drop down. So the volume, the amount of repetitions I'm doing is staying the same, but the intensity will go up because the reps of each of the sets will go down. So the goal obviously, is to build volume because you'd be doing that through the increasing of the weight, but I'm not. I've been finding that keeping the reps how they are, my legs are responding really well to it. So it's been kind of interesting. So I haven't done high reps in the back squat in a very long time. So keeping the reps consistent and then linearly progressing the weight has been, my legs have been responding well to it. And the classics like my snatch and clean jerk, I've been responding really well to as well as my deadlift. Like everything is getting stronger. So I think like for me right now, especially the way I'm built, like back squats just they make my whole body have to work really hard. And the deadlift itself isn't an important lift for me to progress, but like if the deadlift is just randomly feeling good, it means that I'm generally strong. And doing the 290 yesterday for a double might be the most I've ever done for a double in the deadlift. But the fact that it didn't feel bad tells me that the back squats are generally going to be stronger. And even though I haven't done more than 185 for that set of 10, generally, so my plan is always to train every day unless I don't feel like it. And what I don't feel like it is means like I'm sick, existential fatigue, it could be a variety of reasons why I wouldn't. But in a normal week, I would train every day. I will say the last 2 weeks, so when I did the 3x10s and then this past week, I didn't train on Tuesday because I had parent teacher conferences. So I had a day where I had to stay really late at work. So I just didn't train on those days because I would have been home at like 9 o'clock at night to start training, not like now where I'm done with training. So it would have just been, I could have, but I decided to make the day before just do, just kind of go a little harder on that previous day. So I knew like I would need that extra day to recover. At least I wouldn't be necessarily not using it, but I didn't want to set myself up for failure because it just, when you're at work for 12 hours, because I essentially have to leave for work at my house at like 7:30 in the morning, and to get to school by 8:20 at the latest, and then the conferences. We had school till 4 o'clock, and the conferences are till 8. So like both those days were like already 12-hour days essentially. So I didn't want to try to lift weights after that, even if it was just like a day like this where I was just doing pressing or just came out and just did that. If it was like a day off, it would be not the end of the world. So in a typical week every day, but there are sessions like this to where today I did light pressing, the front squats and the pulls. So the front squats, not like no volume, just singles, 70, 120, 55, 75. And that was it. No doubles or triples or anything like that. And the pulls for me are really easy. So it's not difficult for me to do a 3x3 or whatever with that. But in a typical week, yeah, I am going to train all 7. The difficulty of those sessions obviously vary. And right now it's like every other day. Like today I view as an easy day. Like the front squat's hard, but because it's such a low volume that what I've been finding is on like the next day, like I'm not fatigued from it, which is interesting. I've always thought I'd get more fatigue from it than I am, but I think just because it's just singles and I'm generally getting the back squat volume in, that I'm recovering from them pretty quick. And then pulls, I always recover from quickly. It's because I'm built well for them. But as long as like you can train every day, but as long as you vary the difficulty of the sessions, and not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. And that's kind of the other thing. Like front squats for me mentally are relatively difficult, but singles aren't as much. But the rest of the session is really mentally easy. So like I can just come out and just start snatch grip pressing just right away. Start overhead pressing just right away. I'm not mobilizing. I'm not warming up really. Like you're just doing reps. So it's not. And same with pulls. Like I can just do them. It's not. I'm not like hyping myself up to do them. But if I'm doing the snatch or clean jerk heavy, like you kind of have to get dialed up a little bit more. So on those days, the intensity is higher from a physical and a mental standpoint. And so varying that, if you do want to exercise every day or do want to train every day, and that's the approach I've always taken is I'm gonna train every day. How am I gonna make it work? Um, and it doesn't mean that I have to train every day. Like I'm not gonna lose my mind if I have to. Like the last 2 weeks, I couldn't train on Tuesday. Like sometimes life gets in the way, and there are those occasional days where you get done at work and you're just like it could be the sessions like this. Like if I couldn't do in a week, it'd be okay. Like if I missed one of the days or whatever with that, it wouldn't really impact my progression or anything too much. But for me, it's like a day like this is important because it gives me obviously shorter volume, but it gives me practice on the front squat, and then the pulls are just practice with the pulls. But if I missed a day, it's not the end of the world. But I still like to do them because you get benefits from whatever training session, even if it's not the physical ones of getting stronger, the mental benefits and the neurological benefits of for me like the front squats, like just building that ability to do heavy front squats. So I've always planned on a 7 day week. Some weeks it's a 6, and more infrequently less than that. Probably the only time that I would take more than a day or two off would be like the holidays. So if I go home for Thanksgiving, then I'll set you guys down over here. I'm gonna sit down for a bit. If I let me set this, where did I set this? I don't know. We'll just hold it. But so like the holidays, we have Thanksgiving here, like the 28th or something. So like that's a day that I'm not going to train, and there's really two reasons. One, it's going to be meaning that I'm going to have to leave in the morning early to get home for that meal. So I'm probably not going to want to wake up early and train. I could, but if I do, it'd be a session like this. So it's like some of that pre-planning comes in where if you're going to have a stressful day, you just plan a lighter session so you can do it. But if you have facilities at your house like I do, I don't ever really have an excuse not to train. And there's always something you can do that's beneficial in training that you can do every day. But if you have to drive, like if I had to drive 40 minutes to the gym every day, I'm not going to go every single day of the week because I'm not going to train hard every single day of the week. It's not really possible for me. But then I'm going to be burning through gas and stuff as well. So there is the like fiscal part that would be a negative. But even as it starts to continue to get colder, I'll still be able to train out here. So just trying to balance the days that I want to be out here training versus going to the physical gym and balancing both of those. But like holidays are probably the most common days where I'll take a day off. Yeah, and it's something I've had since I moved into this house, but I didn't use as much until COVID. And then I was like having to use it every single day, and I got used to training out here. Because when I used it before, I mostly used it for squats and for pulls because I was apprehensive about doing snatches and clean jerks out here because people do notice it's like it looks really small, but once you do the lifts enough, then it doesn't feel small. And if it feels like you're missing a lift or something, and then you just drop it, like you just can't run stuff out or whatever. But once COVID happened, then I had to train out here every day. And if I was going to snatch a clean jerk, it was out here in the shed. And it was cold, but if I wanted to train, it was going to be in the cold. And so I built that hardiness and the habit of being out here and used to it. And so then I had the habit of just training out here. So then I have that as just a resource. And going to the physical gym is nice. You have more space, usually a better atmosphere if you're doing heavy lifts, and it's fun to go and be around people in that regard. But it is really nice to have this resource. So like on a session like this where it's not as big of a deal, I can train out here. Even if it is a big session, I can still do it out here and save gas money, which is always nice. But yeah, I think it's a huge advantage that I have. And even if I didn't have like any facilities at my house to lift, I would probably honestly get a second gym membership. There's like a Planet Fitness that's like a mile up the street that I would get a membership at just to do like bodybuilding stuff, just so I have a place to do lighter sessions, even if it wasn't able to do, snatches or clean jerks or squats or whatever, just to go and do, accessories, which would be nice. But thankfully, I can do basically everything I want. I can do literally all the lifts I want to do at the house. It just is nice to go to the physical gym at different points. But um, yeah. But Jennifer, I don't know what you mean by that. It's a very vague question. Question myself about what, just in general. Yeah. So my general. So that's another part of my general plan is that I go on Wednesdays and sometimes Fridays, like Saturdays. If I was the session I did yesterday, sometimes that falls on a Friday or a Saturday because now it's not extremely pertinent what day I do heavy sessions on because there's not a competition that is near with that I'm doing. So I can kind of simply just train whatever days I want, but it's usually just alternating. Obviously, there's odd number of days in the week, so sometimes the session will fall on a Friday or Saturday. But if I can swing it that way, then like the Wednesday is a time where I go into the actual gym, which I have to pre-plan for that because I take my stuff with me to work to drive to the gym after because I wouldn't drive. My work is like 25-30 minutes from my house, and then the gym is 30 minutes from my house, but it's also like 35-40 minutes from my school. So I'm never going to drive back to my house from school and then go to work or go to the gym after that. That'd be an hour of driving. I'm always going to leave from work. So I have to pre-plan that. So there's been times where like I just wake up in the morning, I'm like, I just know I'm not going to feel up to it to go. And so then I just plan the train at the house just in case I feel like trash because I hate to drive to the gym and then not do good lifting or, just lift light because it's like I could have done that at the house and saved gas and time. But Wednesdays have been a day where I've gone pretty frequently. So when you see videos of my gym sessions, usually it's Wednesday or Friday/Saturday. Tomorrow I'll probably go. Sundays, like the weekends are kind of random. Like a session like today, like usually I don't. So most Saturdays I haven't been. But if I'm lifting heavy, then I do go. So it's just one of those things. If I'm doing like the classics, it's nice. Especially Fridays can get busy, but Saturday nights are usually really not busy at the gym that I go to. So you can usually kind of jam out to your music, and it's sometimes nice to have people around, but it's nice to have the open space and the music that you can play. Well, it's the same music I listen to here, but like it's just nice to have the whole gym to yourself at times. But ideally, you kind of have the people around you to kind of hype you up a little bit. But sometimes it comes at a double edged sword because then they're playing music they like, which is often terrible music. So you kind of have to put up with that, which is usually not ideal. But it's a net positive, and it's good to not just train in one spot or the other. And really, honestly, probably the other thing is to practice on two different bars as well as just practicing hook grip in general. Doing that as well. So it is. I've been having. I'm in a good flow right now in training, and I think that's the best way I can describe it is like I know what I want my sessions to look like moving forward, and as long as like things feel good, then I know that I can just move not necessarily to the next step or to the next level, but I can keep moving in that positive direction, and I know inevitably I'm going to start to get achy or I'm going to get a tweak that I can't work through or I'm going to get sick or like there's going to be something that happens that's drawing me back to baseline, but as long as my squats continue to go well, then um, well, yeah, if I do accessory work, there's machines and stuff that I can use there, so there is that benefit too. That I obviously don't have machines at the house, but uh, in there's just more space. That's the biggest thing is like it's more open, so it's nice in that regard. It's easier to film from different angles, so to see technique in different ways. That's usually why I film from the front when I go to the physical gym, because I can't get that angle when I'm at the house. I usually get the same angle that you see all my lifts for the live. It's the same for my camera's just right behind my phone. So it's just literally like that same angle for all my lifts just because of the space limitations with it. But at the gym, I can film from any angle basically, which is nice. And it's nice for squat, just for all the lifts. Like ideally, you'd go there every day, but it's nice to have the home gym as well because I do like having the facilities here. So there's benefits to both, and I certainly like both. And it's nice to have the balance of both. It's certainly a luxury, but it's something honestly that I've worked hard to be able to get out here. The shed was very lucky when I bought this house that it was large enough to do this lifting in. But I built a platform. I purchased the weights and use my own money for that kind of stuff. And I've been very lucky that I've had this building out here essentially, and have the resources to be able to do that. But that's what yeah, it's night here. It's like nine. What is it? 9:44. So it's nine, about a quarter till 10 here. But it's quite nice to have this resource here for sure, because it's, I think honestly the best sessions, the ones that I don't nobody really enjoys, but you feel terrible or you're sick or you really just like physically can't do anything, but you come out just to like move the bar. That's a session, like it's sessions that you wouldn't ever go to. I already ate dinner. Um, but what you call it? Um, what was I saying? Oh, it's like for the sessions where everything feels terrible or you have an injury, like you can come out and just move the bar. You can just do a little bit of work and it not feel like you just spent gas or whatever to go to the gym. And so I'm a loser. I don't know. No. uh, I don't know what you're talking about, brother. I'm just talking about lifting at my house. You shouldn't train your mind to be stronger than your feelings. It's you should feel your emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, I don't know what you mean to your emotions will control you. Your emotions are an important part that dictate how you feel on a particular day, of course. And if you can, um, what you call it, if you can have consistently positive emotions, you're going to enhance your life. If you just try to work through negative emotions, try to suppress them or control them, as you're saying, then in a sense, that's good. Like you should try to do things to, um, be. Lost my train of thought because your new comment. Um, choose wisely what motivates you. So control my emotions, but choose wisely what motivates you. I don't even. But yeah, you should feel your emotions, and there's nothing wrong with obviously being motivated, but um, the motivation is a fleeting feeling that isn't something that really matters necessarily. As long as you have a goal and that's something that you want to achieve, then you know the steps, or you can figure out the steps, or you can take your best guess what the steps are to achieve that goal, and you just take steps every day that you think are positive. And I think that's something that, as um, like Deadpool, uh, I've never seen that movie, but I'll take your word for it. I know what you're talking about. Um, what you might call it, the idea of motivation isn't something that's really that particularly important. It's more important to have a goal that you're willing to make sacrifices to achieve. But even if that sounds even too dramatic, it's important to have something that's not just your job or work, or something that is a mandatory thing that you have to do. And I don't really view teaching like that. Like I enjoy it a lot, so it's something that I'm passionate about to do. So it's not like I'm morally like I have to do it. But it's like lifting is like my big thing outside of that. But you have to make sacrifices for it. But it's like sacrifices like I eat the food that I need to eat. I try to sleep. I do the mobility. Like I pay attention to technique, and it's like you pay attention to that kind of stuff to work towards what you know are achievable. Your notions are, well, you're just saying random things that you've read on the internet, so you're not having one original thought. So I don't really know how my thoughts are any greater or worse than yours, that you're just reading off random motivational pictures. But outside of the gym and teaching, say video games and like chess a little bit. I mean, you see me do some chess live streams, but I play chess a lot, and no, I don't know what you're referring to. A diet, like you just eat the correct foods. It's not rocket science. You're just reading off random quotes. It's kind of hilarious, actually. um, but outside of that, like video games a little bit. I used to play a video game called Smite a lot, but I kind of fell out of favor with that. But the chess, even when I'm not live streaming, that's something I just enjoy playing in general. And I'll like listen to music and play that. And I'm trying to think. Like, used to play that Smite game a lot. Yeah, I'm a phys ed teacher, so physical education. Um, it's my fifth year of doing that, ninth year of teaching overall. I used to be a special education teacher, so passionate about that. I'm really excited. I'm starting throwing and catching stuff next week, so I have some equipment that I'm waiting to. I just ordered. It's actually from Walmart randomly, but I have some equipment that I'm waiting to get in. So hopefully that gets in here by Monday. Um, I guess video games are for losers. I guess you're more than welcome to have that opinion. Um, I would say probably not. It's a games are for losers. It's a very boomer statement. I like it, but yeah, the main outside of chess, I actually play a an actual video game that's because I used to play Smite. I don't play that anymore. I haven't played that for a while. But a other one that I play is called Out of the Park Baseball, which probably isn't going to be really um, a very relevant thing. I do have a good friend. Like we do go to the gym and stuff sometimes, and he doesn't train as frequently as I do. So usually we'll see each other because he lived at my house. So him and his wife now. It's hard to find people to do weightlifting. That's the tricky thing. And there is one gym that's relatively close to where I would be at, and there's people that do weightlifting there. And there's more just weightlifters in general. But the issue with that is that gym's $100 a month, and that's more than three times the price of my current gym, so it's not worth it. Plus, it would take most likely twice the amount of time to get there with traffic. So it's yeah, Damien, I'm concerned about that guy as well. Well, half hawk, half man. If you have a question about training, feel free to ask it. To just spew out random stuff about training is kind of hilarious. Um, where you go for outings there? Yeah, I enjoy just relaxing though. That's always been my thing. Ansel is when I'm not training at the gym or teaching or whatever. Like the idea of going out to go places has never been um, purely enjoyable for me to do. Like I don't really think like, oh, I should go to a baseball game and go watch that or whatever, whatever it happens to be. So I'm not very outwardly social like that. So like the idea of me like recharging and like relaxing is playing whatever video game and relaxing, watching videos, just lounging around, being a being a lazy person. Um, and it's hard to say I'm lazy when I train every day and whatnot, but um, it's one of those things. It's like I could probably find people that I could go out with. Like there's people I interact with that do that stuff, but it's not something that I'm like, ooh, I get to go out this weekend. It's more be an obligation to go somewhere, but training is fun and it's therapeutic in a way because you're working towards what your goals are. And I think the best feeling that you get with training is when you're setting goals. And he says he really did. It took him like 15 statements. He got his 15 like copied and paste quotes from the internet, and then he's like, now he's still mad about it, which I kind of like. I think it's kind of hilarious that he's mad that I'm not telling him how to train. Well, half hawk, half man. You should go to the gym and lift weights instead of reading quotes on the internet. That's my first useful piece of advice for you. Reading quotes off the internet's not going to get you any stronger, unfortunately. If it would, I'd be pretty strong right now. Although I don't waste a lot of time reading random quotes off the internet. That does seem kind of like a waste of time. But yeah, and so I think I'm going to head off here as well. Um, it's, uh, half hawk he's tilted. But you have a good one, Ansel. You have a good morning walk, and I'll see you later. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. Talk to you all the next one. Have a great night, guys. Peace.